Chapter 18. Rob was sweeping the center of the cement walkway in front of the Kentucky Star rooms when Beauchamp pulled up in his red Jeep and honked the horn. "Hey there," he hollered. Beauchamp was a large man with orange hair and an orange beard and a permanent toothpick in the side of his mouth. The toothpick waggled as he walked as if it were trying to make a point of its own. "Got you on the payroll now, too?" Beauchamp shouted. "No, sir," said Rob. "All right," hooted Beauchamp. He hopped out of the Jeep. "Got you working for free. That's what I like to hear." "Yes, sir," said Rob. "Ain't you supposed to be in school, or done you graduated already?" The gold chains buried deep in Beauchamp's orange chest hair winked at Rob. "I'm sick," said Rob. "Sick and tired of school, right?" He slapped Rob on the back. "Don't got a mama putting down the rules for you, do ya? Get to make your own rules." "Not me," said Beauchamp. He jerked his head in the direction of the motel office where his mother, Ida Bell, was working at the front desk. He winked at Rob, and then he looked to the left, then the right. "Look here," he said in a quieter voice. "I got me a number of deals going on right now, a few more than I can properly handle. I wonder if a smart boy like yourself wouldn't be looking for a way to pick up some extra spending money." He didn't wait for Rob to answer. "Let me tell you what I got cooking. You like animals?" Rob nodded. "Course you do," said Beauchamp, nodding to him. "What boy don't? You like wild animals?" Rob's heart skipped. He suddenly knew where Beauchamp was headed. "I got me a wild animal," said Beauchamp. "I got me a wild animal like you would not believe, right here on my own property. And I got some plans for him, big plans. But in the meantime, I need some taken care of, some daily maintenance. You follow me, son?" "Yes, sir," said Rob. "All right," said Beauchamp. He slapped Rob on the shoulder again. "Why don't you climb on into this Jeep and let me take you for a ride, show you what I'm talking about?" "I'm supposed to be sweeping," said Rob. He held up the broom. "Says who?" said Beauchamp, suddenly angry. "Your daddy? He ain't the boss. I'm the boss. And if I say let's go, you say all right." "All right," said Rob. He looked over his shoulder, wishing fervently that Willie May or his father would appear to save him from Beauchamp, knowing at the same time that he could not be saved, that he was on his own. "Good," said Beauchamp. "Climb on up." Rob climbed into the passenger seat. There was a big brown grocery bag at his feet. "Go on and put that in the back," said Beauchamp as he swung into the driver's seat. The bag was heavy and stunk. Rob carefully put it on the floor in the back, and then he noticed his hands. There was blood on his fingers. "That's just from the meat," said Beauchamp. "It won't hurt you none." He cranked the engine, it roared to life, and they went tearing around behind the Kentucky Star and into the woods. Beauchamp drove like he was crazy. He gunned for the trees, and then he swerved away from them at the last minute, whooping and hollering the whole time. "You ain't gonna believe what I got to show you," Beauchamp hollered at him. "No, sir," said Rob weakly. "What?" Beauchamp shouted. "No, sir," Rob shouted back. "I ain't gonna believe it." But he did believe it. He believed it with all his heart. Chapter 19. Beauchamp hit the brakes. "We're almost there," he said. "You gotta close your eyes so it's a surprise." Rob closed his eyes and the Jeep went forward slowly. "Don't cheat now," Beauchamp said. "Keep 'em closed." "Yes, sir," Rob said. "All right," Beauchamp said finally. "Go on and open 'em up." He had pulled the Jeep up as close to the tiger cage as possible without driving right into it. "Tell me what you see," he crowed. "Tell me what it is before your very eyes." "A tiger," said Rob. He let his mouth drop open. He tried to look excited and amazed. "Damn straight," said Beauchamp. "King of the jungle, and he's all mine." "Wow," said Rob. "You own him?" "That's right," said Beauchamp. "Fellow I know owed me some money, paid me with a tiger. That's the way real men do business, in tigers. He come complete with the cage." The toothpick in the side of his mouth danced up and down. Beauchamp put up a finger to steady it into silence. "What are you going to do with them?" Rob asked. "Studying my options. I figure I could set him out in front of the Kentucky Star, have him draw me some more business into the motel." The tiger stood and stared at Beauchamp. Beauchamp looked away from him. He tapped his thick fingers on the steering wheel. "I also might just kill him," Beauchamp said, "and skin him and make me a tiger coat. I ain't made up my mind. He's a lot of work, I'll tell you that. He needs meat twice a day. That's where you come in. I need you to come out here and feed him. $2 every time you do it. How's that sound?" Rob swallowed hard. "How do I get the meat into the cage?" he asked. Beauchamp dug into his pocket and pulled out a set of keys. With these, he said. He shook the keys, and they gave a sad jingle. Don't pay no attention to the big keys. They're for the locks on the door. Open them up, and that tiger will get out and eat you for sure, you understand? I ought not to give you the whole set, but I know you won't open up that door, right? You ain't no fool, right? Rob, terrified that the keys to the cage existed and that they were about to be handed to him, nodded. See this tiny key? Beauchamp said. Rob nodded again. That's for the food door right there. Beauchamp pointed at the small door at the bottom of the cage. You just open it up, toss the meat in a piece at a time like this. Beauchamp swung himself out of the Jeep with a grunt. He reached into the back seat for the grocery bag, took out a piece of meat, bent over, unlocked the tiny door, opened it, and threw the meat in. The tiger leaped forward, and Beauchamp took a quick step backward, stumbling. That's all there is to it, he said, straightening up. His forehead was shiny with sweat, and his hands were trembling. What's the tiger's name? Rob asked. Name? Said Beauchamp. He ain't got a name. You got to name something before you toss it a piece of meat? Rob shrugged and blushed. He bent over and scratched his leg so that he wouldn't have to look at Beaucamp's sweaty, angry face. You want to get introduced proper? Said Beauchamp in a mocking voice. Well, then get on out of the Jeep. Rob climbed down. Beauchamp grabbed hold of the fence and shook it. The tiger looked up from his meat. His muzzle was red with blood. He stared at Beauchamp with a fierce look in his eyes that was familiar to Rob. Hey, Beauchamp shouted. You see this boy here? He pointed at Rob. He's your meal ticket, not me. It's this boy. He's got my keys now. Understand? I don't got them no more. This boy's got them. He's your boy. The tiger stared at Beauchamp a minute more, and then he slowly lowered his head and stared back to work on the meat. Now you two know each other, said Beauchamp. He pulled a tattered bandana out from his pocket and wiped the sweat off his forehead. On the hair-raising ride back to the Kentucky Star, Rob realized who the tiger stare reminded him of. It was Sistine. He knew that when he had told her he had the keys to the cage, her eyes would glow with the same fierce light. He knew that she would insist that now they had to let the tiger go. Chapter 20. The last thing Beauchamp said to him was, Don't forget now, this is our business deal. It don't concern nobody else. You take that bag of meat and hide it somewhere, and I'll bring you more meat tomorrow. In the meantime, you keep your mouth shut. 3 o'clock, the school bus pulled up, belching and gasping and sighing. Norton and Billy, three-monger, started pelting Rob with date palms before the bus even came to a complete stop. The bus door opened and Sistine came running toward him, dodging the dates, looking as serious as a soldier on a battlefield. Let's go see the tiger, she shouted to him. Rob was dismayed to see that she was still wearing his shirt and jeans. Where's your dress? He blurted. In here, she said. She held up the same grocery bag that he had given her the night before. I changed as soon as I got out of my house. My mother doesn't know. I found a book in the library today and read about big cats. Do you know that panthers live in the woods here? We could set the tiger free and he could live with them. Come on, she said. She started to run. Rob ran too, but the keys to the cage felt heavy in his pocket, and they bumped up against his leg and slowed him down so that Sistine beat him there. When he arrived, she was standing pressed up against the fence, her fingers wrapped in the chain link. Tigers are an endangered species, you know, she said. It's up to us to save them. Watch out he don't attack you, Rob said. He won't. Tigers only attack people if they're desperately hungry. Well, this one ain't hungry. How do you know? Sistine asked, turning around and looking at him. Well, said Rob, he ain't skinny, is he? He don't look starved. Sistine stared at him hard, and Rob opened his mouth and let the word fall out. Keys, he said. Every secret magic word he had ever known. Tiger, cancer, Caroline. Every word in his suitcase seemed to fall right out in front of him when he stood before Sistine. What? She said. Keys, he said it again. He cleared his throat. I got the keys to the cage. How? Beauchamp, he told her. He hired me to feed his tiger, and then he gave me the keys. All right, said Sistine. Now all we have to do is open the lock and let him go. No, said Rob. Are you crazy? She asked him. It ain't safe. It ain't safe for him. My friend Willie Maid, she had a bird and let it go, and it just got ate up. You're not making sense, she told him. This is a tiger, not a bird, and I don't know who Willie May is, and I don't care. You can't stop me from letting this tiger go. I'll do it without the keys. I saw the locks I'll saw the locks off myself." "Don't," said Rob. "Don't," she mocked back. And then she spun around and grabbed hold of the cage and shook it, the same way Beauchamp had earlier that day. "I hate this place," she said. "Can't wait for my dad to come and get me. When he gets here, I'm going to make him come out here and set this tiger free. That's the first thing we'll do." She shook the cage harder. "I'll get you out of here," she said to the pacing tiger. "I promise." She rattled the cage as if she were the one who was locked up. The tiger paced back and forth without stopping. "Don't," said Rob. But she didn't stop. She shook the cage and she beat her head against the chain link, and then he heard her gasp. He was afraid that maybe she was choking. He went and stood next to her, and he saw that she was crying. Crying? Sistine. He stood beside her, terrified and amazed. When his mother was alive, when he still cried about things, she had been the one who comforted him. She would cup her hands around the back of his neck and say to him, "You go on and cry. I got you. I got good hold of you." Before Rob could think whether it was right or whether it was wrong, he reached out and put his palm on Sistine's neck. He could feel her pulse beating in time with the tiger pacing. He whispered to her the same words that his mother had whispered to him. "I got you," he told her. "I got good hold of you." Sistine cried and cried. She cried as if she would never stop. She did not tell him to take his hand away. I want you to think about how Sistine and maybe the tiger are similar.